Solomon Arcade, situated in the heart of Charlestown. Visit the arcade today for business or shopping pleasure.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and as you know, I am the Premier of Nevis. I'm also the host of this show, and we have been with you over the past 2 decades or so, right here on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. This show is broadcast each Wednesday from 8 to 10, and we are well aware that we have developed a following regionally, locally, of course, regionally, and even internationally. I want to say good evening to all of our friends and family here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those who are across the Caribbean Sea, those who are in the United States and Canada, those in the United Kingdom. Wherever you are, good evening and welcome to this edition of the On the Mark show. As usual, this show moves in a particular fashion. At the start of the show, we have a bit of commentary from me, and then we open the lines, and when we open the lines, we are hopeful that you will take the opportunity to call in. Now, I want to say at the top of the show that a lot of times people say that they want to call in. They say that they have something to say, something to share, something to contribute, but then they argue that they cannot get in when they try to call. I think sometimes the reason for that is that people wait until the very last minute. So, for those who are interested in having their views and opinions heard, those who want to share some information or engage in some debate, then I urge you that when the phone's open, you pick up your phone and you call. The numbers then would be 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700, and I will certainly give you your cue as to when is a good time to call. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I start tonight on a very, for me, enriching experience that I had today. I put up a post on social media. As people know, I'm an avid fan of social media. And I said, Bart Village, I love you. And I know that some people are curious as to what I'm talking about. This afternoon, whilst attending a funeral, I got word that 2 individuals from Bart Village, Mr. Dion Drew and Mr. Joe Claxton. Some of you may not know Dion Drew, but I believe everybody in Nevis knows Joe Claxton. That they had gone out since morning to go fishing and had not returned. Now, for those who know these small fishing communities, we know that that is the worst possible news that the public can receive, that friends and family can receive. And so by then, I was headed home, and I decided, let me go to Bath and be with my people in Bath. It is my constituency. And let me go there and show some moral support. On the way, I got a call from the Honorable Troy Liebert. And he asked me for some particulars as to where the fishermen might have gone to, which part of the island, which part of the ocean they would have traveled to. And having secured those particulars, I would have shared them with the Honorable Troy Liebert. And I was very impressed that the Honorable Troy Liebert then engaged with Mr. Vincent Perkins of Islander Water Sports. And together they were able to put one of the boats on duty to try to engage in the search and rescue effort. I'm also aware that the Honorable Troy Liebert was able to procure a drone and to take that with him as they headed out to sea to try and find Joe and Dion. As I called, of course, my people in Bath to find out what the position was, I got word from Mr. Brian Dyer, who heads our disaster preparedness and response team, to say that they had already alerted the St. Kitts Nevis Coast Guard and had alerted the police as well. As I got to the site in Bath, I was advised that a local fisherman, Abba had already set sail, and that another local fisherman, Festus, had set sail as well. Indeed, whilst we were there, we saw Festus leaving the Charlestown pier and headed out to sea. Why do I mention this? I mention this, ladies and gentlemen, because as I stood there at that site in Bath where the fishermen would normally pull up their boats, I saw a steady procession of people. Not only people from Bath Village, but people from all across the island of Nevis. And as the news spread that Joe Claxton and Dion Drew were missing at sea, the crowd got thicker and thicker, and people kept arriving. As we were there, the sun started to dip a bit. Of course, the concern grew. We were told that ordinarily, when the chaps went out, they would be back in about 3 or so hours. And certainly they had gone out since 8 in the morning, and this was now after 6 p.m. We had not seen their return. You could imagine then the joy and the outburst of exuberation when word came that they had been located, and that Festus, who had gone out in his boat to help with the rescue, that he had located them. I was then able to call the Honorable Troy Liebert, who was on the ocean with Vincent Perkins, better known to us as Plug Eye, to inform him that the boat had been found. And they were then able to inform Abba, who was in that vicinity, I'm told, where they were. And together they would all have converged and brought Joe and Dion safely back to shore. I want to go on record tonight to say thank you to the St. Kitts Nevis Coast Guard, because they showed up and they were on site. Thank you to young Festus. Thank you to Abba. Thank you to Vincent Perkins. Thank you to the Honorable Troy Liebert. Thank you to Mr. Brian Dyer. Thank you to the good people of Bath Village and the rest of Nevis. They all showed up today. I wasn't able to stay to see Joe and Dion back on shore, but we were able to see the boat being towed safely back to shore. And tonight, Joe and Dion, if you're listening, we are happy that you're safe. Praise be to God. Today could have ended much differently for you and for your families. And so we are truly, truly happy that God's mercies were extended to you. We know that fishing is a dangerous profession, a dangerous undertaking. And that, as I was told by so many fishermen in Bath this afternoon, that at a moment's notice, anything can go wrong. We do not yet know, well, let me rephrase that, I do not yet know the full story of what would have gone wrong. But I am happy that tonight I can report that Joe Claxton and Dion Drew are safe, and that they were safely rescued and returned to shore to their loved ones. I believe that that story sets the tone for this evening as really a good story, a story with a good ending for the people of Bath and for the people of Nevis. What I saw today, ladies and gentlemen, is why I continue to have an abiding faith in the people of Nevis. Are we rancorous sometimes? Do we get at each other sometimes? Do we argue and fight sometimes? Yes. But I have always been persuaded that when it matters most, our people come together. And as I saw vehicle after vehicle pulling up, even while I was leaving Bath, villagers were walking, going to the site. It tells me that there is still on this island a very strong sense of community, a bond that binds us, a love of each other, concern for each other, and that we still have on the island of Nevis the type of community that we want, that we deserve, and that is worth fighting for. And tonight I say praise be to God, because we know that the outcome could have been very different. And had night descended without the two fishermen being found, one could only imagine the anxiety that would have descended not only on them lost at sea, but on their families and on our community. And I was happy this afternoon to be with my people in Bath, to witness for myself the outpouring of support. The tension was in the air, of course, because we knew not what to expect. But everyone was there, we chatted, we made jokes, we tried to keep each other's spirits up. And when the word came that they had been found and they were safe, there was a collective joy from all who were present. And I noticed something else, that even after the word came that they were safe, most people did not move, and more people continued to arrive. And so that tells me that people would have wanted to remain in place until these two fishermen were brought ashore. I feel that what I saw today was the quintessential Nevisian story. A story of community, a story of resilience, a story of unity and togetherness. And I say, Bath Village, I love you. Congratulations, because today you showed up. I say to all of those that I would have mentioned, the Coast Guard, Festus, Abba, Plug-Eye, Honorable Troy Liebert, Brian Dyer, and all the others who played some part, I say thank you, and you showed up as well. I feel proud tonight to be Nevisian. I feel proud tonight to be an honorary Bathman, and I feel good that our island still has within it that core of goodness, togetherness, community spirit, and unity that every country needs if they are to grow and prosper. And so, a happy ending this evening for Joe and Diane, and if they're listening, God bless you and keep you safe. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of Culturama 51. Yesterday, we had the final parade and last lap jamming, and I was saddened last night that the police reached out to say that they had been forced to take the decision to end the activities earlier than anticipated. I was saddened because, of course, we have vendors who have their goods that they would like to sell, drinks and food. And if the festivities are stopped, the music is stopped, then the anticipation is that persons perhaps would leave the venues and the vendors would therefore lose out. I initially thought that the police could have stopped the music in Charlestown while leaving the village open to function. The response that I got from the police was that they were concerned because they had witnessed some violence in Charlestown where there were 6 individuals, including 2 police officers, who got stab wounds. Thankfully, nothing serious. But nevertheless, 6 persons received stab wounds because it appears that some ladies engaged in an altercation, and in seeking to part the fight, as we would say locally, 2 officers suffered some minor injuries as well. If it were only that, one may well say that the police could have shown some restraint in not closing off the activities. But no sooner the police said that they had that under control, that a fight erupted in town with people throwing bottles at each other. And then, not long after that, a fight erupted at the village with some young ladies who decided that they will attack each other. And so the police took their decision that they could not risk anyone losing their lives or being seriously injured. And as a consequence, they took the security decision to close off the Culturama activities for 2025. I do not gainsay, I do not second guess, I do not quarrel with the police. They are the men and women in uniform. They are the ones who take decisions insofar as our security is concerned. And if they say to me as Premier that in their professional opinion there is some tension that could lead to a wider conflagration, I am guided by them. And so I can only tonight apologize to revelers, apologize to vendors, and say to them that whilst I understand the anxiety that many of them would have expressed, that the job of the police is to ensure that everyone, including them, is kept safe. And so, regrettable as it was, we had to end. And it is particularly regrettable because there were no other reported incidents, so far as I'm aware, for the entire Culturama season. It was also regrettable that these fights, stabbings and the like were largely women who were involved. We don't normally hear about women involved in behavior such as that. But the police has taken their decision, and they are the ones charged with security. And I fully support their position that it was better to err on the side of caution and keep everyone safe. Now, that sad note, bad note, whatever note you want to call it aside, I want to spend some time this evening talking about Culturama. Culturama 51, which is now one for the ages, but Culturama more generally as well. I hasten to say I am not the Minister of Culture, that is the Honorable Eric Evelyn. But I think that our Culturama belongs to all of us. Indeed, The song that was played just before the show came on, one of our junior Calypsonians was saying the very same thing, that Culturama belongs to us and is therefore what we make of it. I have seen, unfortunately, a level of divisiveness, vitriol, and continued efforts to inject politics into every facet of Nivision life. It seems to me that there's some who wants to see politics in the church, politics in the homes, politics in the schools, politics at work, politics at the hospital, politics in every facet, including Culturama. I want to say something tonight which ought not to be controversial. And what I wish to say is that despite some of the commentaries that I have heard, Culturama does not belong to Mark BRANTLEY. Culturama does not belong to Eric Evelyn. Culturama does not belong to the Concerned Citizens Movement. Culturama does not belong to the Nevis Island administration. Culturama belongs to you. Culturama belongs to me. Culturama belongs to everybody. It is a collective. Culturama should reflect us, all of us. And so as I have watched carefully, I have not engaged very much, but I've watched. And I've seen the efforts, some subtle and some not so subtle, to try and sabotage the Culturama, to try and inject division into Culturama. So we had some of the bands who decided that they would withhold their music from Culturama, boycott. Unless I get what I want, I am not involving myself in Culturama. We had some individuals who would ordinarily participate. Unless I get what I want, I am not participating. And you had persons cheering them on and injecting into the Culturama this divisiveness and vitriol. You then had the constant, never-ending, non-stop nattering nabobs of negativity who continued every morning, noon and night to criticize, not constructively, not to say how we could make it better, but destructively, to denigrate people, to seek to cry down. The contestants don't look good. The calypsos don't sound good. The venues don't look good. It's the worst Culturama ever. And they went on and on and on, as if they were hurting Mark BRANTLEY, they were hurting Eric Evelyn, they were hurting the Concerned Citizens Movement Party, they were hurting the Nevis Island administration. And I'm going to say something that might surprise some of you who are of that view. I wasn't hurt. Eric Evelyn wasn't hurt. CCM is stronger than ever. And the NIA remains. Government of the people, for the people, and by the people. I think that we need to get to a point where there has to be some kind of reckoning, a recognition in the country. We need to sit down and we need to say, listen, there are some issues, let us take the politics out of them. Let us seek to see how we can build and make better. Not half the country is saying they're not going to participate and can only cuss I had an interesting exchange today with someone. They said to me, Culturama was terrible. I said, oh, did you attend any shows? No, me no went nowhere. I said, all right. Well, how Culturama going to be better if you decide that you will not participate? You see the point I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen? We must be willing to take part. For those of you who might be like me, who can't sing and can't dance, I take part. Whenever I see Culturama share something, I share it, I send it out on my WhatsApp channels. I help to advertise. I attend shows. Participate. But what we have are some who don't take part in anything. Their only contribution, if you can call it that, is to point out everything that is wrong. You hardly ever hear them come and say, this was a good show, or that was a good show, but they're very, very adept at pointing out every single thing that goes wrong. I'll give you an example. The Culturama committee took the position that they would charge $30 EC. That works out to about 11 or so US dollars to stream the shows. So if you wanted to watch the show online, you would pay 30 EC dollars. Oh, the world was coming to an end. Huge hullabaloo. That's wrong, and that's this, and that's that, and that's the other. I said to the Honorable Eric Evelyn, he and I spoke, and he was quite firm that he's going to stay the course because it cost us quite a bit to stream these shows. And we want to encourage people to get up, come to the shows, rather than staying home and watching the show for free. So the fee was introduced. Just last night or the night before, I am talking to my younger daughter, and she is watching online a show in Anguilla, our neighbor. And I said to her, how is it you're able to watch a show from Anguilla? And she said, oh, it's streaming. I said, oh, is the streaming free? She says, no, it's the Queen show and the cost is 28 US dollars. I said, oh. Here in Nevis, the natural neighbors of negativity are castigating the Culturama committee for charging 30 EC dollars or 11 US dollars to enjoy the show online. But just next door in Anguilla, they're charging 28 US dollars for the same show. And I thought that was instructive, because me not hear nobody in Anguilla cussing the government, cussing the committee, cussing nobody. You want the show, you want to watch it online, they pay the 28 US dollars and they watch the show. I saw the Honorable Eric Evelyn. He sent a note to me. He said the string band which he plays, the Honeybee string band, they're going to be going to Antigua in the morning. A day, I might add, when there were no Culturama events scheduled during the daytime. That they were going in the morning, invited up by Dr. Twaits, Dwayne Baba Twaits, who's Nevision, one of us, and who has done so much here in terms of healthcare. The prostate screening, Dr. Twaits. Dr. Twaits lived here. He's one of us. And the Honorable Eric Evelyn said, Premier, they've invited us to come to play at this breakfast fete that they have in Antigua. And I think it's a good opportunity for the string band to be exposed. I said absolutely. And so the Honorable Evelyn journeyed to Antigua in the morning with the Honeybee string band and journeyed back to Nevis a few hours later. We had that very night a reception for the Miss Caribbean Queen contestants. Minister Evelyn was there with me. And that evening, there was, I think, the Miss Culture Queen show at the cultural complex. And again, Mr. Evelyn, as the minister, was there. In fact, I commented to the Honorable Eric Evelyn that I am unsure where he gets the energy, because Eric Evelyn went to everything. Tents, semi-final, and all the shows. Juve, Parade, Herbert's Beach. The minister was there. And so you could understand my shock when I started to hear this uproar that imagine the Minister of Culture from Nevis abandoned Culturama to go enjoy Antigua Carnival. By the time that uproar started, the Honorable Eric Evelyn was already back in Nevis. I just want our people to understand the context. Invited to come to Antigua to perform at a breakfast event, spreading our culture, string band in Antigua, no cost to the government. They flew up, they did their event, within hours they were back on Nevis. In fact, it was the Honorable Eric Evelyn himself who posted on social media photos of himself and the band and the interaction that they had in Antigua. And immediately there was a cacophony of sound and fury as these usual culprits, empty vessels, clang, 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 start to berate him how he has abandoned Nevis and Culturama to go enjoy Antigua Carnival. Nowhere was it suggested that there was value in sharing Nevis's culture with Antiguans. The connections that were made, the fact that the string band was able to showcase something uniquely in the vision. No. Cussing the minister. And when them cussing, guess what? Eric already in Nevis. And I said, but it looks like Antigua is now England. It take 8 hours on British Airways to go, and 8 hours on British Airways to come back. The last time I checked, Antigua was 20 minutes. But you see the haste, the burning desire to create negativity is what causes so many of them to fall flat on their faces and look foolish when the facts are in fact known. And I keep asking myself, why? Why the constant need to preach negativity, to foster negativity, to criticize everything and everybody? I hear a fellow making noise yesterday say only 4 women I could have get to going for Miss Culture. And I really did not know what to say to him, so I tell him, well, you should have shaved your legs and enter too. Because what else am I going to tell him? He vexed with me, telling me only 4 girls you could get to go into Miss Culture. Well, you should have shaved your legs and enter the competition too. Since you needed 5, you should have offered your services as the 5th contestant. Because that is the level of nonsense that you keep hearing from people. Another fella asked me, he said, I am here on the road with people. I said, well, I don't have any people tie out, you know. people not stock. Forgive me, for those of you who are younger, sheep and goat that you have tied out somewhere. It's just some of the things that's constant barrage of negativity. Last year for Culturama 50, we had one of the biggest Culturamas ever because we put things in place of having not just Culturama but also the homecoming, and people responded overwhelmingly. And good God, even that the natural neighbors of negativity attacked mercilessly. So this year, let us look at the shows, the main shows. The Mr. Cool, Miss Swimwear. The only criticism I heard of that show is that it went a little too late. The Talented Teen Show, I heard no criticism of it. The Calypso Show, I heard that the standard of the Calypso this year was excellent, but that the attendance at the Calypso Show was not as good as it was hoped that it could be. The Queen Show, I heard the standard was excellent and the attendance was excellent. The food fair at the MGR Park was excellent as always. It's always a popular event. The 5-in-1 Fete put on by Wazim Richards and Richards Promotions, to use young people language, that sell-off was a monster event. Thousands of revelers. And so, truth be told, that where I felt that we did not see the usual numbers of people was actually on parade day, because the troops that we normally would have for Culturama, so many of them decided they're not participating for one reason or the other. And so we were limited in terms of the number. But even though we were limited in terms of the number of troops, revelers were out in their numbers. And I am told that thousands of people were on the streets in Charlestown enjoying themselves before, of course, these ladies started their fracas. And so, as we look at Culturama 51, here's my simple request of the Nivision people at home and abroad. Let us celebrate the wins. Let us celebrate the things that went well. And let us learn from the things that did not go as well. Because that is the only way we're going to push our culture and our festival forward. If we have half the population that are trying valiantly to get this wagon that is Culturama up the hill, pulling with all their might to get Culturama up the hill, and then you have others who are pulling with all their might to keep Culturama down in the valley. All because it seems that some of them want to say, oh, Culturama flop under Mark. Culturama flop under Eric. As if Culturama belongs to Mark or it belongs to Eric. And so I see the attacks have come. The attacks on the new chairman. If the chairman is new to the role, then why not, instead of attacking him, offer some constructive guidance and advice? Why not lend your expertise? Why not make your suggestions? Call him up, send him a little WhatsApp, see him by the bar. Say, boy, I think so and so and so and so. But no, attack. Need to get rid of the chairman, you need to get rid of the committee. I will remind Nivisions tonight that those committee members, those subcommittee members, as far as I am aware, they are not being paid. They volunteer. A word that has gone out of style in Nevis. They volunteer. Queen Show Committee, Kaiso Committee, these are all people who come year after year and say, here I am, send me to do the work. And a lot of them who are sitting down and criticizing the people who are stepping forward are not themselves prepared to step forward. Nobody could ask them to help. Nobody could ask them to do anything. If you do ask them, you hear what some of them say, where the money? Show me the money first. But they're the first to criticize people who are prepared to step up and say, hey, I'm here to volunteer. I'm not perfect, none of us are, but I'm here to help. How can I help? That's what we need in Nevis. The people gathered in Bath tonight, when we heard that 2 fishermen were missing at sea, they did not gather there at the shore because they could help rescue the fishermen. They gathered because they wanted to show their support. That's an important trait, an important characteristic of the Nevisian people. So I'm not understanding how, for some, it's all about money, it's all about gimme, 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 no effort to help, and only criticize. That's all that they have to offer. I said, I believe, when I was here last week, that it is absolutely useless to tell a man that his red pants look stupid if you can't then go on to tell him, with that outfit, a pair of blue pants would be much better. Because all of us can criticize. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. But offering solutions is a horse of a different color. And too many of us spend our time calling down, denigrating, criticizing, and trying to destroy. And no time at all offering solutions to help us build. And I'm trying as Premier of Nevis to build Nevis. I don't care where the ideas come from. In our PCCM, you got the other party, the MRI or whatever the name is. Wherever the ideas come from, if they're good ideas, let us embrace them. But constantly attacking people who are trying to give of their best, while you yourself are not prepared to offer anything. You are not prepared to volunteer. You are not prepared to serve in any way. And if you're asked to move this from point A to point B, you put out your hand because you want pay. And if you don't get the pay, you take to social media to cuss everybody and say you're boycotting. I am curious if some who are ingrained, it appears, in that type of thinking, if they feel that they can preach that negativity and division, and then if by some miracle they are in government and now in control of Culturama, then all of a sudden everything going to turn around. And the people that they spent all the time cussing and denigrating and criticizing are now going to say, oh, all is well, let's get together. Because that level of negativity can breed the same behavior on the other side. And leave this island in a perpetual state of some people trying to pull Culturama up the hill, and some people doing their best to pull it and keep it in the valley. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I invite your calls. I want to know what you have to say. And I am hopeful that if you're going to call in and say that Culturama was not good, then you could make some suggestions as to how we can make it better. I'm hopeful if you're going to call and say Culturama was not good, you could say what shows you went to and what you didn't find good about it. I am hopeful that if you call in to say Culturama was good, you could tell us what you liked about it and what you think we can do to make it better. But at the end of the day, if you remember only one thing from my program tonight, it is the admonition that Culturama belongs to all of us. Culturama does not belong to any premier, any minister, any political party, or any government of the day. Culturama is us. And we are Culturama. And it is only as good or as bad as we make it. I will open the lines. It is quarter to the hour of 9 o'clock. And take your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Mr. Sheriff, good evening. Ecclesiastic 12, verse 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. I like the food fair because I met and I agree with people that I haven't seen for a long time. That's all. Have a good evening. May God continue to bless all of us. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the scripture, but also thank you for saying what you said about the food fair, because it's an aspect to the culture that sometimes we perhaps do not emphasize enough. And that is the fact that Culturama is a time of people coming together. Seeing people that you have not seen for some time, engaging with people. It is a very important time of year for our people to come together, to be with each other. And I think that that sometimes gets lost and it is not emphasized nearly enough. And so, caller, thank you very much for that. I'm truly grateful that you have called in and you have made that point, because I think it's an important point to make. Ladies and gentlemen, let me, as I wait for the calls to come in, we are, of course, inviting your calls on 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. The lines are now open if you want to call, and as I say, please call early. Get your time in, get your views in, because sometimes people leave it until the last minute and then get a bit cross with me because they're not able to get the time that they would like. Having said that, I want to move on then to another topic, and that is to say to the people of Nevis, I realize it appears that we're having some problems with the streaming of the show, certainly on Facebook. I was trying to just get it up because I like to have it there, but it keeps saying technical issues, so I'm hopeful that that can be resolved. But, ladies and gentlemen, as I go on, I wanted to point out that we had been working for some time now on the 911 system for Nevis. This is a system, the intention of which is to revolutionize our emergency response here on the island of Nevis. I am delighted to report that the system is now live, the system is now functional, and whilst I hope that none of us need to call 911, if you do call 911, we have trained individuals to the highest international standard. They are now certified, who will answer and who will be a part of answering and being there for you in your time of difficulty. And I am exceedingly happy about it. It looks like the feed is back up. It keeps saying reload, so I was just trying to think, but I just checked on my phone. It looks like it's back up. So good. For those of you who are following us online, we're hopeful that that remains. Let's go back to the phones, though, and take this call. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Hello?
Yes, you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, good evening. I just wanted to call in and lend my voice to be listening to this show from the beginning. You started out quite well, and so I wanted to call in and lend my voice, of course, to the incident that happened this afternoon. To God be the glory that the guys were found in good order and good health and so on, and it happened just in the nick of time. And of course, you and I would have spoken on the phone, and I myself would have been on the water along with Mr. Perkins. We also had Abba and a group of guys who were out there with him, and of course Festus, and I think the director of fisheries, Corey Maynard, he was also out there on the boat with Festus. Plugger and I went to the south along with Abba, who was a bit further out, and Festus went directly to the west, and luckily, just as it was beginning to, as we would say, dust in, just when the sun was going down, we got the call that they had indeed found him out there in the west. The boat had been drifting, seeing that they had lost the engine from the boat earlier in the day. So I'm very happy that we had such good turnout. Something like that is never a good thing. When I heard about it, I certainly wanted to see what I could do. So we spoke, and then I spoke to Mr. Perkins, and he got up immediately. When I called him, he said he was resting because he had a long day, and he got up immediately, no hesitation, and came out. And so I want to say big thank you to everybody who came out to look for those guys who were out there fishing. It's good to see the community coming together. I think you would have summed it up really nicely earlier on when you spoke. You're hearing me?
I'm hearing you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the phone is sounding a little bit low, so I couldn't tell if you were there. So yeah, I'm just feeling really good about that, Mark. It's good to see the whole community coming together, with people from Bath. When I got back into Orleans and came back into town, I came back into town in time to see the ambulance and so on in there, and everybody felt good at that time. It was a big sigh of relief and so on. You're still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, and we're hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
okay,
sorry
good.
it doesn't appear that way, but we're hearing you loud and clear. And
Yeah.
Minister Lyman, as I said at the top of the show, I wanted and extended congratulations and thanks to you, because you called me and you sprung into action right away. And certainly Mr. Perkins, who I did not even know he was resting, but that also speaks volumes to his commitment, and was able to put that boat in the water. You did tell me you secured a drone. So we really, it was really in many ways a community effort. And you guys were actually underwater because we recognized that the Coast Guard had to come from St. Kitts. So they are a farther distance away. And so, Festus, yourself, and Perkins, Abba.
Time was of the essence, because
Absolutely.
it was already going for 5 o'clock, and so we would have only had about an hour of daylight, and I'm so happy that they were able to find him before it got dark. So I think that was real important. It was important that we got out there before it started to get dark, because God alone knows what would have happened if they hadn't found him before it got dark.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also want to lend my voice to the Culturama. I mean, you were talking about Culturama, and I think you're absolutely spot on again. Culturama is not about you. It's not about me. It's not about the government. It's not about the minister, Evelyn, who's the Minister of Culture. It's our thing. It's about the people of Nevis. It is how we go out and express ourselves, and it is also our showcase to the world, and I, for one, I'm not with the people who they sit at home and they don't participate in anything, and then they want to criticize. I'm with those people who come out and they do their little bit, whatever little bit they can to make the Culturama happen. You know, if we don't come out on Juve morning, there isn't going to be any Juve morning. If we don't come out on parade day, then there is not going to be any parade. It is what we make it. You know, so I want to, you know, of course, say kudos to those persons who actually came out, those persons who went out to the shows, those who participated in the shows, those who came out on Juve to, you know, enjoy the Emancipation Day jump up. And I think a lot of people don't get the significance of the Emancipation Day jump up, you know, because we have it as a part of our Culturama celebration, but Emancipation Day has a much bigger meaning, and the fact that we can go out there free and be able to jump up, it says quite a lot, and we shouldn't lose the true meaning of that Emancipation Day. So as much as possible, I like to get out there and see what's going on. And so I want to thank the schools of divisions who came out on Emancipation Day and also on Parade Day. We didn't have the numbers of the troops that we would normally have, but if you looked at Charlestown in the latter part of the afternoon as it went down into the evening, the town was full. And, you know, as they got into the last lap and so on, the streets, you could hardly walk on the street in Charlestown. A whole lot of people were in Charlestown. So folks really came out and so on. I want to commend everybody. As you said, and rightfully so, the festival belongs to all of us, and we have to make it what it is.
Troy, thank you very much for that. And I believe that some things seem obvious, but we still have to say them, because they don't seem to be obvious to as many people. And some of the people who are making noise are among our most educated.
Yes.
They have all the degrees in the world. They have been behind the school door for a long time.
Yeah, you know, there are a few folks who are out there on Facebook, and their job is to oppose, and so they try to oppose every single thing. So they put out 100 posts, and they have the same 10 people commenting on the post, the same 10 people talking to themselves over and over again about their post. So what can we do? We just have to continue to press on and to do what we know is in the best interest of the people of music.
Thank you very much.
I want to commend you on the leadership that you have been given. You know, the leadership that you have been given to the island, and I want to encourage you, you know, to keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really sincerely appreciate that. That's the Honorable Troy Liebert calling in, and he was one of those on the scene, on the ocean this afternoon, engaging in the rescue effort. And so, Troy, again, thank you very much. I think that this is when we say country above self, this is exactly what we mean. And I'm delighted that you were able to mobilize, along with Vincent Perkins, along with Abba and Festus and the Coast Guard, to get out there. And Corey Maynard, I'm happy you mentioned Corey. I had forgotten to mention him earlier. But to go out there and ensure that Joe and Deanna were safely returned to their families. Let's go back to the phones and keep the calls coming. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello.
Good night.
Good evening.
Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Yes. Please listen to the phone and not to your radio or device.
This is Paulette.
Hi, Paulette. How are you?
I called to say thanks to all those who went out for Mr. Joe Claxton.
Yes.
Who is a very friend of mine and the family. So thank you to Abba and Festus and all those. God is good.
All the time.
Yes, all the time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your call, Paulette. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. We're taking your calls. We have an hour to go, and we're hoping to take as many calls as possible. We're talking about Culturama. We are celebrating the community for the rescue efforts of Joe and Dion, two fishermen who were lost at sea and who have been recovered safely. Thanks be to God. Thanks be to the Bath community. Thanks be to all of those who went out and were on the ocean searching until these gentlemen were found. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Honorable Premier, good evening.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing, sir?
You sound so live and lively, I'm surprised you're not sleeping.
No, I'm no time to sleep yet. I have to be up to listen to On the Mark and to call in.
All right, what's going on?
I'm pretty good. First of all, I just want to say how happy I am that the 2 fishermen were found and safe and sound, and that they are in good health and in good spirits. And I really want to thank, as you would have said, thank all the folks who rallied. And of course, as you rightly indicated, we still have that community spirit amongst a number of our divisions and residents. So I'm really, really happy. When I saw the message this afternoon that the 2 fishermen were missing, I started to pray silently and said, I hope that they are found alive. Thank God that happened, and really thank those who sprang into action very, very quickly. I'm sure the folks of Bath, especially their relatives and friends, are breathing a sigh of relief. Honorable Premier, I just wanted to touch briefly on Culturama. I think you have done an amazing job so far in terms of speaking about it and speaking about the ups and downs and the issues and so on. And I just want to endorse all of what you would have said, and in particular the fact that Culturama is a Nevis thing. It's something that belongs to all of us, and that is something that I would have preached from the onset. And every opportunity I got during the season, I did it. When we had the media launch, I said it. When we had the reveal of the contestants on the waterfront, I said it. I said it at the opening of Culturama, and I was on Von Radio practically every night when they were covering a show, because I went to give them a hand every night. And every night when I was there, Shamika could tell you, she's there in the studio tonight. Every night when I went to the studio, I spoke about people coming out and supporting the festival, because the festival belongs to all of us, divisions and residents, those of us who call Nevis home. The festival belongs to all of us. And Honorable Premier, I personally am not bothered about the negative comments and so on, the negativity, because anybody who knows me knows that I thrive on positive energy, positivity all the way. I can't deal with the negatives at all. So most of the times I try my utmost to ignore the negatives. Of course, no matter what you have, no matter what function you have, including Culturama, it can never be perfect. There is always room for improvement. But there are ways and means of even saying, well, I am going to bring an idea. I don't think this thing went so well, so I'm going to offer an idea. But just to go and all out criticize and say nothing was good, it's impossible that you have a festival and nothing was good. And you were correct, because even last year, for the 50th anniversary,
sure,
which I believe was the biggest and the best, we had so many activities, we had so many events. There were some nights when you had like 3 different activities taking place, so you had options. Some persons even said we had too many activities last year. But there are still persons who say that Culturama 15 have been away. And that is what you hear every year. Every year you hear Culturama been away. So you just sometimes you just have to ignore the crap that people talk and just continue to do what you have to do. I, as the Minister of Culture, I have to say that I am very pleased with the way Culturama 51 unfolded. Yes, there were things that we can improve on, and that happens every year, because there is no perfect festival, neither in Nevis, in Trinidad, in Brazil, in London, nowhere. There is no perfect festival. But I can say that I am pleased with the way things unfolded. I attended all of the activities, as you rightly indicated. The shows went very well, and as I mentioned to you today, the attendance generally was good, and I did say that the attendance for the Calypso was not as good as it normally is, but I think for all of the other shows, the attendance was quite good, and it's comparable to what the attendance have been over the years. Of course, last year was the 50th anniversary, and so the attendance for everything was up for last year. But the attendance at the shows generally this year was comparable to what we have seen in the past. And based on the feedback that I have gotten, the quality of the shows were quite good. Mm-hmm. Yes, mm-hmm. I've gotten a lot of feedback about the quality of the shows. And, I think we are also improving in terms of starting on time. over the years, we've had an issue of starting half an hour late, an hour late. I think there was a concerted effort this year to start most of the shows, if not at 8, just a little after 8. You know, I think the Queen show and the Mr. Cool and the Swimmer, I think they started pretty early. The Talented Youth started pretty early. And so there are efforts at improving in terms of timing, in terms of starting. And there were some of the shows that finished in very good time as well, before 12 or around 12. And so we are getting there in terms of the improvement. All we need to do is to continue to improve, continue to polish, and continue to take advice on board, and continue to work around these things, right? So I really want to commend. I'm going to make an official statement, but I wanted to come on the mark this evening and just say a general thank you to all who would have made this festival possible. You know, sometimes when you hear some of the negatives, you just have to, as you say, I would just have to say ignore. For example, I mean, sometimes you would say something is not good, but when you hear what other people have to say, I remember when I went to the food fair on Saturday, a lady came up to me and she said, "You're a minister, right?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "I am from St. Kitts, and I've always wanted to come to the food fair." She said, "I'm coming to the food fair for the first time, and I like what I see." And you know what else she said, Premier? She said, "Well, I come into the food fair for the first time, and I come to look around, because next year I want a booth." And I mean, that really struck me, because I mean, here is someone coming to the food fair for the first time. She said, "I've always wanted to come, but I've never been able to for work or some other reasons. This is my first time. I love what I see, and I want a booth next year." Now, Honorable Premier, if she didn't like what she see, if she didn't see people there in attendance at the food fair, why would she want a booth next year? She see an opportunity to come. She see the number of persons who were there, and the number of persons who were patronizing the booths. And that is why this lady who came for the very first time could say she wants a booth next year. And so she saw the value of the food fair, and she saw how great the event was. But yet still there were some people who said that nobody went to food fair. You understand what I'm saying? So that is what I'm saying. Sometimes you just have to ignore the negatives. And I like when people can come with good ideas. If you know, I was heartened again yesterday afternoon when I was just after the parade. I was there standing in the parking lot there on the Samuel Hunkins Drive. A young lady came over to me and she said, "I have a group of us who want to have a word with you." You know, and she came and then she called the others over there. I think there was about six young people. I'm sure all of them probably under 20 years, probably between 18 and 20. And they engaged me, and they said, "Well, we have an idea we want to share with you, because we want this idea for next year Culturama." And I said, "I am happy, because this is what we like. We like when people come with ideas, and I'm happy that young people want to share their ideas for the festival, because they see the value of the festival as well. These are young people, these are the visions, and they see the value of now sharing an idea that could enhance the festival for C52. And I said, "Of course, let me hear what you're all thinking." And, you know, they were bouncing their own ideas and so on. And then I said to them, "Put a little proposal together and bring it. You know, I could discuss it with the Culturama committee." And these are the kind of things that we should engage in, you know, constructive things, you know. And so I was very heartened. But I really want to say tonight, Premier, that I'm pleased with the way things went down for Culturama 51. I want to congratulate the committee. I want to congratulate all of the winners. I want to congratulate all who took part in all of the various events. I want to say a special thank you to all of our sponsors, all who came out and participated, to the police that did an amazing job, to the health team from the hospital that they were at every activity as well, and all in all of the supporters, all of the vendors, all of the patrons, everyone who took part or was able to ensure that Culturama 51 went down well. Of course, I was disappointed last evening with the incident, and Minister Libel is correct. I mean, there were thousands of people on the streets in Charlestown last evening. Thousands. You could have hardly walked through the streets of Charlestown last evening. I remember when I was standing there in front of the Navy's Tourism Authority, one band was coming from downtown, the other one was coming from uptown. And, I mean, like, there were so many people had to be moving to allow one of the trucks to pass, and it was just a hive of activity in Charlestown yesterday. It's a pity that we had to had those fighting incidents that practically marred the rest of the evening. It's really a pity. And I was disappointed because every opportunity I got as well, I told people to please leave their weapons at home and let us have an incident-free and crime-free festival. So I was really taken aback last evening when we had this, because it has been for several years since we've had these kind of incidents for Culturama. Mm-hmm. And we must learn to behave when we go out. There's no need to be walking with any knife or any guns or anything. You're going out to have a good time. You're not going out. You shouldn't be going out there to injure anyone, you know. And so after I heard of the incident last evening, I went up to the hospital. I saw all of the stab victims, and I was happy that none of them had any life-threatening injury. And I just want to encourage our young persons, please, irrespective of what event you're going out to, whether it's Culturama, whether it's any kind of event, there's no need for you to be walking with any weapon. There's no need for you to be engaging in any fight. You are going there to enjoy whatever event it is, and do it in a nice, clean way. This is not us. This is not Nevision. This is not Nevis. And so please, in the future, we are asking you to please restrain yourself. Restrain yourself from these type of behavior. But as I said, Honorable Premier, I just wanted to say a general thank you to all stakeholders, all who are part of the festival. And as I said, generally, I am very pleased with Culturama 51. And I can inform the public now that the wheels are going to start to turn for Culturama 52 very, very shortly. We're not going to be waiting until the last minute to do any planning, any promotion. The wheels are going to start to turn very soon. We're going to be launching the slogan for next year very shortly, and we're going to be trying to market the festival as early as possible, trying to get our contestants as early as possible to get them well prepared. And so we can assure the public that we're going to start early o'clock this year for next year. And of course, I want to thank the Cabinet, yourself, Honorable Premier, and the Cabinet for once again supporting the festival. Of course, this festival is an expensive venture, and it is mostly funded by the Nevis Island Administration. Of course, we do get sponsors, but the bulk of the funding comes from the Nevis Island Administration. So I want to thank you, Honorable Premier, as the Minister of Finance and as the Premier, and thank the entire Cabinet for once again throwing our support and the support of the Nevis Island Administration behind the Caribbean's greatest summer lime, Culturama. And I just want us to continue to whatever event we are having, whether it's Culturama or anything, to continue to have our Nevision pride and to show our Nevision pride in whatever we do. And that includes Culturama. Honorable Premier, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't interrupt you because I know that you wanted an opportunity just to speak to Culturama. I know how passionate you are, yes, Minister Eric Evelyn, about our culture. And I commented earlier this evening that I wondered where you got the energy from, because you attended everything. Everything. And that is why it saddened me when some sought to attack you for going to Antigua to the breakfast fete for Dr. Twits.
To expose our culture.
Of course, to expose our culture, which is
right,
part of your job as Minister of Culture.
Precisely.
And the reality is that you went and were back here. In fact, by the time they started their attacks, you were already in Nevis.
I was already back in Nevis.
Right? So I just find that, again, some of us who are just bent on confusion, mischief, we have nothing to offer to try to help build this island or build Culturama. And it bothers me because I keep hearing some of them start out, I am 100% Mr. Culture, or I'm committed to culture. And then they go on to say everything and do everything they can to denigrate the culture.
Precisely.
right?
Precisely.
You know, and that is
It's
something
such a
that,
pity.
well, I just find it, you know, really interesting because
And for me, when we were growing up, it was never this way.
it was never like that.
So where has it come from?
Right? Never like that. And I'm not understanding, because if you have a criticism, then bring the criticism. And also if you have suggestions, bring the
Precisely.
suggestion. I'm here as you're speaking, you know, people are messaging me as happens every show, every Wednesday. And people are telling me, you know, sending in their little ideas, and I know you're going to have a post-mortem, so
Yes.
we'll have to look at it. But to
Right.
me, let us be constructive, not
Precisely.
destructive. And, you know, criticism can be constructive or it can be
Precisely.
destructive. And too many are engaged in destructive criticism. And some, it seems to me, really felt that their boycott would mean that Culturama would not happen. It would flop.
Precisely. It will happen. It will happen.
Culturama is
You know?
going to happen.
Of course.
You know?
Because even when the conversation that I had with those 6 young people yesterday, I think it was 6, either 6 or 7. I think it was 6. But you know, none of them had anything bad to say about Culturama. You know, none of them had anything bad to say about the festival. And as I said, I was really very heartened. None of them had nothing bad. All they came and said, "Mr. Evelyn, we have an idea. We have an idea for next year, and we just want you to listen to us." And then after we had the engagement, they say, "We want to thank you so much for listening to us." I said, "Well, that's what we're here for." You know, and as I said, that really made me feel good, because these are the kind of engagements, constructive engagements, that our people should be involved in.
All right, my dear. Thank you, brother, and thank
Thank
you
you.
for your contribution as always. You know, we can't do what we do without having courage, and I admire your courage.
Thank you, sir.
Because in the face of all the attacks and you're out there, you're doing the best that you can, and you epitomize culture and cultural contribution, and so I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
And
you're most
have a
welcome.
good night.
All right,
All right.
And Eric doesn't say it, but he could dance masquerade, and he play. Eric, you must call back in and tell us what that instrument you're playing, the string band, is. I hear somebody say it's a grater. I want to know if by day you grate coconut and potato on it, and by night you scrape it with a hair pick, and it becomes an instrument. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello.
Good night again, Mr. Brantley. I like to say thanks to the nurses and doctors of the Alexander Hospital. While I was there, it was excellent treatment. And I say thanks to the doctors and nurses. Very good hospital. Paulette Lawrence.
Thank you very much, Paulette.
To all the nurses and doctors
Yes.
of the hospital. I am here in Nevis, still cooperating.
Okay. Thank you, Paulette.
But thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. And I really appreciate this call, because, again, there are so many who spend all of their time attacking the healthcare system here. They attack the doctors, say they're too young. They attack the hospital. They attack the quality of care that we are rendering. They make all kind of noise and say the most hurtful and untrue things. And so when the real people of Nevis call in to say the quality care that they get at our hospital, the professionalism, I really cherish that. So, Paulette, thank you for your call. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, hello.
You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hello. Hey, Mark.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, partner, listen. I just want to put something from the air, right? Don't get me wrong. You see, what we just say, Nevis need a courtyard. Don't get me wrong, we're not arguing. We're conversating. No, listen, if there was a Coast Guard in Navy. Guess what? They would have reached the guys them closer quicker. Instead of things being lost, like engine being lost and an engine a cost $2 cents. But anyway, I'm not like blaming you, because nobody know what our tomorrow may be. I'm just saying, right? We need a Coast Guard in Nevis, man, and we balling for it all the time.
Yeah.
We balling for it all the time. I hope I don't think that me arguing because.
No. You're making a very valuable point. In fact, I will tell you that when I was in Overbath this afternoon, at least 3 different fishermen made the same point to me.
Sure.
So you're in good company because different people are saying the same thing. What I will say to you, caller, is that we have had a number of meetings over the last, I would say, 2 years or so, with the federal officials who have said that a Coast Guard base will in fact be open in Nevis. In fact, I'll go further to tell you, we already identified the land in Long Point where the Coast Guard base is supposed to be. So it really is just a question now of the federal government putting that in place, because as you know, Coast Guard falls under national security, right? But we say we will put up the land, the NIA, we identified the land, the Coast Guard came up and they looked at it and they said, all right, this is the spot that they want, and we've said okay. But so far we have not had the movement on it. But given what happened this afternoon, and given the fact that our fishermen and our boaters generally are at risk if they don't have ready access, I hear you, and I think you're making an excellent argument.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Yes.
I don't know if you know who's talking to you, but
I know who's talking to me, and make sure I get a drink off the big money you win, eh?
Hey, thank you, but also into this, we're not talking about Sokomonak having for land.
All right.
We're talking about people who nearly been dead.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, right, Mark, also into this, even if, right, because we're not going to wait when things is neither, right, also into this, check your mark, partner, because really and truly, right, you got some soldiers behind you, and if you're gonna rally. If you're not, come out. But out of that into this, right? Listen this. It's like soldiers there, right? No, it's true.
Yes, caller, go ahead. Finish the point. Caller, you're on the air now. We're hearing you. Finish the point.
Yeah, but like, back if you want me to say anything, so.
All right. Well, I get the point. So you're saying that you don't. Okay. Well, caller, it looks like you've hung up. You're making a point that you're saying that you don't think we need to wait on SINKITs for the Coast Guard. But as I said, it is federal in nature. That's like telling me we don't need to wait on SINKITs for the police. It's federal in nature, and so we will really have to involve the federal government, even if Nevis is able to secure a vessel. In terms of the training, in terms of the coordination and all that, we definitely would have to involve the federal government. But I hear it. I hear the need. I am not going to sit here and pretend that this is not something that we have not been trying to address. But as I said, thus far, we have not had the level of movement that we would have anticipated, having already identified the land, having had a number of meetings with the Coast Guard officials. But we will pick up on it again, caller, because I think you're making a very valuable point. Now, it is 25 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Of course, this show goes until 10, and then the band strikes up and we have to go. So we're taking your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Whilst we wait for the phones to ring, let me report that I had the absolute... Okay, well, let's take this call then before I report. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good night, sir. Hey, Premier.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yes. One love, right? Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. It's very important to say, right? That now if I'm up lighthouse, right? And drifting, and then the coast guy go up and sink it. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. What happened the other day, right? I went and see, right? And let's think it here. This I don't give what they want to say. No, they left up all ever think it and then come Nevis outside lighthouse, outside Nevis. They ask me if we see a boat marked Big Red. That's not my job. That's them job. And I don't care if they hear me. Hear this. Nevis need a boat. So, see ya, if you was to let us sink it and come Nevis and me up lighthouse, by the time you reach lighthouse, me don't drift. So he need a ferry, a boat from Nevis who come quick and say, help, and come, and then save me. So maybe that's why the guys them did what they had done. Maybe they're not willful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the commander expensive enough because guess what? Nevis need a marine. Nevis need a marine. We can't wait and sink it all the time. And all the Coast Guard them they sink it. So we ain't gonna feel it.
No, but caller, I don't agree. You know, you done win the case.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Have a good night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking your calls on 869-469-1616 and 1700. Just to report that I had the absolute honor and privilege to receive on the island of Nevis Dr. Julius Garvey. Dr. Julius Garvey visited with us yesterday, and I had the privilege of having lunch with him, and we had about 2 hours or so of conversation, which left me feeling intellectually stimulated and enlightened. His grasp of global issues, his grasp of politics, his grasp of Pan-Africanism, his grasp of us as a people and where we're going, I thought was simply extraordinary. I want to thank Dr. Garvey for coming, Dr. Julius Garvey. He's a medical doctor, thoracic surgeon by profession. He will be 92 years old. 92 years old. I believe it's the 16th of this month. And believe me when I tell you, he did not look or sound a day above 70. Now, why is Dr. Garvey important? Well, he's important in his own right because he has had a distinguished career as a doctor. But he is also the son of Marcus Messiah Garvey. And Marcus Garvey would have had him. He was born in 1933. And Marcus would have had that son, born in Jamaica, and he would have gone on, Dr. Garvey, that is, to do some great things. One of his major accomplishments was that he was able to assist in the lobbying using Congress persons such as Yvette Clarke, also of Jamaican descent, to get President Biden in the dying days of the Biden administration to pardon posthumously Marcus Messiah Garvey. Now, that was important, as Dr. Garvey explained, because it is widely perceived that Marcus Garvey, who was the first person credited with organizing black people in America, before the civil rights movement came to such prominence under the likes of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we had Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey, of course, preached about African black people being resilient, black people relying on themselves, black people having their own businesses, owning things. And he also preached, of course, the idea that we ought, where possible, to return to Africa. And as a result, many would have seen his teachings as somehow revolutionary and threatening the status quo in the United States. And the argument was that he was infiltrated by the FBI, and these charges were trumped up charges. He was convicted. He spent 2 years in prison. His prison sentence was then commuted by the then president, and however, he continued to have this conviction on his record. And so his son has fought with others to get that conviction, essentially a pardon for him, to get it dealt with even so long after his death. I believe, if I recall correctly, that Marcus Garvey would have died I think it was 1940, if memory serves. So this is a long time after his death, and in fact it is only in January of this year that President Joseph Biden, in one of the last acts of his presidency, granted a pardon to Marcus Garvey posthumously. And all that means is that he granted him the pardon. He's now deceased, but he granted it to him anyway. Now, I did raise that I had been a little, how should I put it, disappointed that the very petition for pardoning Marcus Mosiah Garvey, whose teachings have really ignited the passions of black people, the pride of black people, not only in America but here in the Caribbean and across Africa, across the world, that the petition to pardon him posthumously, that petition had in fact been presented to President Barack Obama. President Barack Obama, we will recall, served for 2 terms as the first African American president in the history of the United States of America. And many have had a discussion as to his legacy and his contribution to the African American cause and to the cause of black people, not only in the United States, but here in the Caribbean, in Africa, and globally. And I felt a little disappointed that this petition that would have pardoned Marcus Garvey, who many saw as a man, a philosopher, a revolutionary, who was long before his time, that petition to pardon Marcus Garvey was in fact presented to and was before President Barack Obama, a black man, and he did nothing about it. And it wasn't until the dying days of the President Biden's presidency that President Biden in January would have pardoned Marcus Garvey. I think it's an important point for us to reflect upon, and it is certainly for the Garvey family an important result that this long lobbied for and sought after and petitioned pardon has finally come. And so I felt very honored to be in the company of Dr. Garvey, the son of Marcus Garvey, and he really expressed a deep love and appreciation for Nevis and what he had seen. He had an excellent island tour, I'm told, and Leonard Stapleton, our resident historian, was the person who took them around and spoke of the history of the various sites. And I felt really privileged to see and break bread with and engage with Dr. Julius Garvey, the son of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And we're grateful, of course, that his travels brought him to St. Kitts Nevis, but more specifically to the island of Nevis. Of course, we are aware that Marcus Garvey, during his lifetime, would have come to St. Kitts and would have spoken not only to the beauty, but the potential of these islands. And I know that Prime Minister Drew and his team would have engaged with Dr. Julius Garvey, the son of Marcus Garvey, on St. Kitts, and that event also went quite well. And so I thought I'd mention that because I think that was and is a rather important development. It is 25 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. I am hopeful that persons will take the opportunity to call in. The numbers again are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. We're taking your calls. We're talking about Culturama 51 that has just passed. It ended yesterday. We're talking about the visit of Dr. Julius Garvey, the son of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, who was seen by many as a revolutionary. Some see him even as a prophet in terms of how he spoke about Africa and how he sought to empower people of African descent. We have been talking about the 911 system that is now operational. I'm very pleased. In fact, I ought to have said at the time that I wanted to give significant credit to the Honorable General Nisbet, to Prominent Secretary Shalisa Martin. They worked assiduously on this project. That was a project that started some time ago, but it has been brought to fruition, and I want to thank the Homeowners Association at the Four Seasons because they spent significant sums of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to make this project a reality. Let's go back to the phones then and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening, you're on the air.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley. This is Stocky. It's that time of year again, of course. And I'm calling to remind all of our supporters and friends all over the country and all over in Nevis that our 20th anniversary, NEVDC 20th anniversary gala and banquet will be held this year on September 27th at Martin's Crosswind in Greenbelt, Maryland. That's the same venue. We've been having it for the last maybe 5 or 6 years. This year, we're a little change this year, where this year we'll be honoring the founding members. It's our 20th year anniversary. And the theme for this year is Bridging the Gap, Creating Impact, Influence, and Legacy. Entertainment will be by the Image Band and steel panels. There'll be a steel panels that night. Also, there'll be multiple entertainers from Nevis this year. I'm not at the point where I would not announce those as yet, but there'll be multiple entertainers from Nevis this year. Until the 8th of September, you can book rooms at the Greenbelt Holiday Inn. There's a room block right now at favorable rates. I'm not sure what the rate is right now, but the room block will give you an opportunity to book at favorable rates until the 8th of September. But this year, we slightly raised our price this year. Early bird price is $120, and after September 7th, it will be $130. Tickets can be purchased on nevdc.org. And Mr. Bradley, I keep saying that it's not just one night; it's a weekend. You come to Saturday evening for the banquet, enjoy seeing people, but on the Sunday there's a brunch from 12 p.m. and that price is included in the ticket. So come enjoy a great weekend. We're looking forward to see you guys here.
Stocky, thank you very much for that. I had the opportunity last week to hear you and commend you and NEVDC for the work that you guys are doing. And I continue in that same vein. I really feel very proud that Nevisians out there in the diaspora continue to be committed to the development of Nevis. So thank you. And to all the members of NEVDC, now those present and those past, I say a hearty thank you on behalf of the people of Nevis for all that you're doing.
And thank you, Mr. Brantley.
Okay. All right, brother. Take good care. We're taking your calls, ladies and gentlemen, at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you'd like to be a part of the show. Let's go straight back to the telephones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good night, Matt.
Good evening.
Hey, good program.
Thank you.
2015, you couldn't have a talk show and nobody asked about the national debt. What our national debt stand at this moment?
National debt, you think it's in Nevis?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have the number to hand, caller.
Because that would talk big when it come out 2015. You know, every talk show is about national debt.
Yes.
Okay.
It has come down significantly.
Okay. Think it can station one the Coast Guard in Nevis?
Well, that is what I was saying, that we had discussed that. Having a base in Nevis, we have already identified the land in Long Point, and that was the agreement, but nothing has yet happened. And so it's a matter that I think we need to take up again to see where things are.
I think they have more one Coast Guard, so I think not one in stationing one in Nevis.
Yes, they do have, and some of the vessels, like the one that was deployed today, is a small vessel.
Yeah.
You know, but just having a vessel that's here, especially when you're going to the southern part, it's a good distance and sinkers they would have to travel to get there. So thankfully today they did show up, but obviously we had the local boats out as well.
Out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they need to station one of them over there. A wake up call for them. That's what the wake up call today. So thank God they were thrown in good health.
Absolutely.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for that. We have about 18 minutes left when we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Let me continue to say how grateful we are to the Four Seasons Homeowners Association. They spent several $100,000 on this 911 project. I want to say thank you to Anne Hiley-Gergley. She's a Four Seasons homeowner, but also somebody who's an expert in emergency services and emergency dispatch, and she was the trainer. She brought in persons. I want to say huge thanks to the homeowners there at Four Seasons, particularly Tracy Lunenberg, who leads the Homeowners Association, who led this particular effort. This has really been a partnership that has paid significant dividends for the people of Nevis. Let me go to the phones and say good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable Brantley.
Good evening to you, my friend.
Nice program. My scripture reading tonight is Psalm 27, and I'm reading 3 verses. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. Here endeth the reading of the scripture. May the Lord add his richest blessing unto it. And good night, Mr. Brantley, and God bless you and family, okay? And the members of your party, okay?
Thank you very, very much, and thank you so much for the scripture. Truly appreciated. And of course, these are scriptures that you choose. I don't know what scripture you're going to read, but it's always something that's rather uplifting, and so thank you for that.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. We have about 16 or so minutes left, and so we continue to ask for your calls. And so I go back to just thanking those, Tracy Lunenberg, the entire Homeowners Association at Four Seasons, Anne Hiley-Gergley, the entire team, and of course on our side we had the Honorable General Nisbet, we had the Shalisa Martin, the PS, and we had the police involved, we had our health professionals, we had the fire services involved, because this 911 dispatch system, state-of-the-art, first of its kind in St. Kitts and Nevis. I should also extend my thanks to Digicel. They were instrumental in that. Ms. Carleen Telesford, who heads Digicel in St. Kitts, she was one of our partners. Let me also extend thanks to Prime Minister Drew, because of course we had to get clearance in relation to the police side of things and the national security apparatus that will connect into the 911 system. And the idea really is that if this state-of-the-art pilot works well as we anticipated will in Nevis, then it can then be rolled out to St. Kitts as well. So the idea really, as we modernize, is to give persons the tools. So for those of you out there, if you're victims of a crime or an accident, or you need help, emergency care, medical care, you need the ambulance, you can dial 911. We have a cadre of trained professionals at the command center who would be very, very willing, capable, and able to do the necessary to ensure that you get the help that you need. So please put that into your heads, into your Rolodexes, put it up, let the children know, let those in your household know that if there's any emergency, you can dial 911, and that will be handled in a professional manner, because we have now spent the money, trained individuals, hired individuals. They are certified to the highest international standards, and I believe that this is a great development for the island of Nevis. A lot of times we don't talk about these giant steps forward that the island is taking, because it's not a building, it's not a road, it's not something you can see, but it is something that is absolutely necessary if we're going to have the kind of Nevis that we need and the kind of development that ultimately matters to us as a people. And so 911 system is up and running, and I urge those of you who need emergency dispatch services, you need emergency medical care, you need the ambulance, you need the fire truck, you need the police, that 911 is now up and running, and we are very, very pleased that the partnership we were able to put together to make this a reality. Let me also, let me see if I can find it. Please bear with me. I've picked up my phone to see if I can find a message to say to you that my dear friend Ursula Phillip there in Georgia has said that Dr. George, the pulmonologist who came here and has so generously donated his time and his expertise to us, the people of Nevis, for free, that he will be back on island. And so I think that that's very important, that Dr. George will be returning to the island of Nevis, and he will have the message I've received here. He will show how investing in self-care in your younger years can pay big dividends by reducing health care, sick care costs in later years. There will be some new devices that are FDA approved as an alternative to being on a CPAP machine. Lots of good information. We are hoping that he will be back on the show at some point. We're anticipating that he could be back somewhere towards the end of August, and so we certainly would want to schedule him. The last time he was here, the people said they wanted a repeat of that broadcast. That's how impactful it was. In fact, I shared the joke last week that one lady said to me that she did not realize it was a repeat, so the next morning she was calling frantically trying to get an appointment, not realizing that that was a show from some weeks ago. But Dr. George, we want to say thank you. We want to say thank you again to Ursula Phillip. I want to say thank you again to Minister Janelle Nisbet, the young Minister of Health, who is doing great things, because obviously it is her and her ministry who are making these necessary connections and bringing critical care to Nevis that is not available on the island. And so we are truly grateful for that, that tradition that we have been able to embrace, and that tradition continues. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 minutes left. This is your host, Mark Brantley. If you're just tuning in, then you're listening to the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. www.vonradio.com. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube Live, and of course, for those who want to listen the old-fashioned way, 860 on your AM dial. We are here every Wednesday from 8 to 10 for 2 hours of commercial-free talk radio. It is the only primetime talk show of its kind in St. Kitts and Nevis where there are no interruptions by commercials, and that is because the law firm of Daniel Brantley has paid for this show every single month for the last 20 years. I want to say thank you to them, because they have contributed in a significant way to helping us build this platform and for giving the people of St. Kitts and Nevis a voice, those at home and those abroad, a voice, a platform that they can air their views and opinions every single week on a Wednesday from 8 to 10. And so kudos to Daniel Brantley, a leading law firm here in the Federation and in the Caribbean, for their tremendous contribution to freedom of speech, which is a foundational building block of any real democracy anywhere in the world. When freedom of speech is lost, democracy is lost. And so I say thank you to them. And on this show, we definitely try to accept, invite, and engage with all shades of public opinion. The only thing that we say to our people is that we do not tolerate disrespect, and we want, wherever possible, for us to have the type of conversation and engage in a level of dialogue where those that are listening would leave this broadcast thinking that they in fact had a benefit, that they are better off, that they understand the issues a bit better. We do not need to all agree. Even when there was only Adam and Eve, they did not agree on everything. So we understand that it is human nature to disagree. But what we can agree on is that we can disagree but not be disagreeable. And that is what we have tried to instill, a level of discourse, a level of engagement that allows our people to share their views and opinions and to feel free to do so, provided, as I say, that we do not breach the standards for which Bond Radio is well known. Their motto is only the best will do, and that we do not breach the standards that this show seeks to maintain. Beyond that, anything and everything we can put on the table. Sometimes I come each week and I have a particular point to make, but by the time the calls start, those points are abandoned because people have other things, and this is in every sense the people's show. And so we are always grateful for that. If you're out there and you want to call and say something, you definitely still have time. We still have about 8 minutes left, but at 10 o'clock the show comes to an end. And so it is certainly up to you if you have something that you would like to say. The numbers again as a reminder, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've had the show tonight where we've been looking at a number of issues. I started out by thanking all of those who responded so positively and ensured the rescue of Joe Claxton and Dion Drew, who went out early this morning fishing from Bat Village and did not come back. And this afternoon, the entire community mobilized, and they were found and brought back safely to their families. And for that, we are truly, truly grateful. Grateful to God, who made it possible and who extended his mercies to these two fishermen, but also grateful to all the people who went out to help, the men and women of the Coast Guard, Vincent Plug-Eye Perkins and Troy Liebert, yes, Minister Troy Liebert, because he called me and told me that he would mobilize and he would go out with his drone. We also had Festus, who went out, who actually was the person who found the boat. We had Abba, who went out as well, and we were able, through that combined effort, the prayers of the multitude, the mercy of God, to bring them home safely. Let's go back to the phones and say good evening. You're on the mark. Hello? Caller, are you there? Hello? Okay, I'm not hearing this caller. Callers, if you can be patient with us when you call in. The numbers again are 869-469-1616 and 1700. So we started out by that good news, and we were very, very grateful to report that Joe Claxton and Dion Drew are safely home with their families. That has sparked a discussion about the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard having a base in Nevis. I was able to report that that is a matter that has been under active discussion. We've already identified land in Long Point for the base, and so it's just a question of making it happen. And we would need to work with the federal government on that score. We also had a discussion about Culturama. I was indicating, and I think that, you know, the callers so far have agreed that Culturama is us and we are Culturama. It can only be as good as we make it. And so the participation, the engagement is really for us. to engage, not to sit back and criticize and try to destroy, but rather, if we are to criticize, to do so constructively where we try to build. I think that is very important. I was delighted to have calls from both the Honorable Troy Liebert and the Honorable Eric Evelyn, because the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who's responsible for culture, was clearly able to call in and to share his views and perspectives on that as well, including the very important point that he went to Antigua to spread the culture of Nevis with the Honeybee String Band to play at the breakfast fete for Nivision, Dr. Thwaites, and I thought that too was quite instructive and quite important. I was then able to report on the 911 state-of-the-art dispatch system that Nevis has now installed. It is functional, and I am hoping that Nivisians who need emergency services can feel comfortable now calling 911, where we have a trained cadre, international standard, trained to international standards, a trained cadre of professionals who are there. We have all of the technology, and we will get you the help you need in as short a possible time. And so we certainly look forward to that pilot project, which was funded in large measure by the Homeowners Association at Four Seasons, that pilot project will be rolled out in the fullness of time to the good people of St. Kitts as well, as we take our island and take our country forward. I think that's a rather important initiative. As we are going to the last 5 minutes, let's take this call and see if this call is there. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good night.
Can you give us an update on the geothermal issue?
On geothermal?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question, caller. The update is that we have had the bids, 5 bids for the drilling. Those bids, I'm told, have now been evaluated. Those who did the evaluation committee, they have indicated to me that they have made a recommendation based on the evaluation of one of the bidders, and that has now gone to the Caribbean Development Bank for what they call no objection. So once that goes to the CDB and the CDB does not have any objection, we then move to the next phase, which is the financial viability of the bids, and then we are hopeful that in the next short while we'll be able to make an announcement as to who's the winner. So the process is ongoing, caller. There's a lot of assessment and analysis that is happening behind the scenes, so to speak, by the bid evaluation committee.
Okay, so thank you. What about the airport project? Any update?
Yeah, the airport project, I think we've made good progress thus far. In fact, we have now purchased the first large tract of land. We actually have that in our possession. We've paid for it, and that is lands that are running from the edge of the airport towards Nisbet Plantation, which will be critical for the expansion of the runway. Those lands have now been purchased by us, and therefore we are moving forward. We will be doing some additional purchases in short order. The idea really is to ensure that the lands are paid for, and then we can move. While we're doing that, we're finalizing the design on the main road, because we have to shift the island main road from its current location. That work is being finalized. We're also finalizing the design work and working with the Department of Planning to ensure that when we push the button, that it's all systems go. So we are making good progress, caller. We were delayed in the acquisition of the lands, but I'm very happy at where we are now, and I am optimistic that within the next month or two we will have the necessary groundbreaking and be able to proceed.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, you're most welcome, caller. Thank you very much
Continue
for your
the good
questions. Okay, thank you very much, and we will continue to do our very best to move Nevis forward.
Okay, sir. Good night.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the band has struck up, and when that happens, it means that it is time for us to get ready to go. I want to thank all of those who called, those who were online and participated and engaged in the discussion. This is democracy at work. This is open government at work. This is a leader of the island coming every week and speaking to the people of the island and engaging with them, and it being available for questions, for comments. This is, I think, a very good example, a fine example of how we ought to be. Being able to talk to each other, being able to engage with each other without vitriol, without cussing each other, and the ability to be here. And so thank you for all those who called. Thank you to Weber Herbert and Von Radio for this tremendous platform that they've given me. I consider it a privilege. Thank you to Daniel Brantley for keeping us on air by financing this platform all these years. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio.